Hi there, Stamping Piece friends. I'm Mary Knabe, coming to you live on Thursday, February 6th from Columbus, Ohio. I've got a great demonstration for you today. In fact, I'm really excited about it. And it is my February one-sheet wonder. But before then, I want to give a quick reminder that Saturday is the last day to sign up for my With You in Mind class to go. You can get the class kit with or without the stamp set, but everyone purchasing option 1 or 2 will get the beautiful bokeh 6x6 designer series paper, a full pack, and a pack of coordinating embellishments. And if you want the PDF tutorial only, you can buy that in my PDF store as well. All of the information about this With You in Mind class to go is available on my website, stampinpiece.com. And again, the deadline to order your class to go is Saturday, February 8th. And there is no deadline for purchasing the PDF. It stays up in my PDF store forever and ever, as long as I have a website and a PDF store. And there are, I think, over 150 PDFs now available for purchase. All right, let's get started with the February One Sheet Wonder demonstration. I'm going to flip my camera around now, and while I do that, please share this live video and invite others to join us for today's creative inspiration. Okay, the first thing I want to do today is show you the products that I'm using. And of course, with a One Sheet Wonder, the most important product is the designer series paper. And I've chosen to use the Storybook Moments 12x12 designer series paper. And I just want to let you know that this is an entire suite. And it really is a super mega suite because it has 2 bundles and it has 2 DSPs, one 6x6 and one 12x12, a ribbon and an embellishment. All the products are fabulous. This is on page 24 and 25 of the mini catalog, January to April mini catalog. And there are several photos of samples and creative inspiration for you to use that suite. Please note, you don't have to purchase the entire suite. You can do that easily with one item number, one price, or you can buy products individually, just picking and choosing and mixing and matching the ones that you want. So first thing I'm going to do, as always, is show you what's in that packet of DSP. You know that designer series paper is my favorite Stampin' Up! Product. It is my go-to product when I sit down to design and create. So the first sheet looks like this, and these are printed on both sides. The first sheet looks like this, and this is what I used for my inspiration for my February One Sheet Wonder. And I will be doing a video on this later, using all these pieces to make, I think it was 11 different cards. Let's see, 11 different cards. Here's the back side of that. And I love the colors in here. Absolutely love the color palette. There's a whole lot of colors and all of them work so well together. There's the back side. There's the strawberries and all the bunnies on the back. This is the paper I'll be using for today's card, so I'm going to pull that out. All the summer veggies, the Harvest Farm Market idea here, or theme. And then this, like little cottage homes. I just think it'd be kind of cool to like live in a little cottage like that. As long as it had a craft room, right? Lots of squirrels here. This pretty Lost Lagoon pattern. I love this. I think it's just elegant and stunning. And then, so you'll get 2 of each of these 5. So that makes 10. And then you're going to get 2 sheets of die cuts. And I will be using some of the die cuts for some of today's cards. Just to show you how easy it is to make cards with this pack of designer series paper and the cutouts they provide. You could make a gazillion cards, not a gazillion, but you get what I mean. A whole lot of them with this paper pack, which includes those 2 sheets of die cuts. So let me bring my paper trimmer out. Adjust this just a wee bit here. Okay, and like I said, the inspiration for this one sheet wonder is this sheet of designer series paper. And occasionally we see something like this in our paper packs. And sometimes people shy away from using it. You don't have to. You don't have to. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do, and if you have directional paper going up and down, make sure the top is at the top of your paper trimmer when you begin cutting. And you'll see a little bit why that's important to follow my cutting directions exactly, because it will make a difference with directional paper. And on the back side, it is directional. And I am going to be flipping over some of my pieces. You don't have to, but I think that's what makes these cards really awesome. So the left 6 by 12 inch strip, I'm going to turn to the horizontal position and again, cut it 6 inches. And I'm just kind of laying these out so I know which quadrants I'm cutting from. And then this one, notice I'm turning back to the original position. So if it helps to cut from the other side so you can see the direction, go ahead and do that. But I think the directions are pretty clear in my tutorial. Then I'm going to cut at 4 inches, okay? I'm gonna save that 2 inch by 6 inch piece for card B. And then I'm going to turn this piece again to the horizontal position and cut in half at 3 inches, okay? And this is what I will be doing with those 2 pieces, flipping one of them over. So that's why it's important to pay attention to following my cutting directions, okay? Now here we have this again. I'm going to turn it like that, cut off 2 inches from the top of that 6 by 6 square. That'll be for card C. This one I'm turning back to the horizontal position and cutting it 3 inches. And you can take a look at the back. This is what I do. If I'm deciding that I want to flip one of these over, I flip both of them over and then take a look at them and decide which scene I want to use. And I chose this scene for my card D. Then I'm going to take the 6 by 12 inch strip from the right side of that piece of paper, and I'm going to cut at 4 inch increments. And I'm going to lay these out, top, middle, bottom. And Normally you might just, if I wanted to cut 2 of these in half, I might choose the first 2, cut them in half. This time I did it a little bit differently. Number one, because I still wanted to follow the that other sheet of designer series paper as my guide, but also because I was looking at the back. Now all of these would have worked, but for the full piece, but the ones I cut in half, I definitely wanted from the top and bottom. So again, I'm going to flip these over and take a look, because one of them I want to use on the flip side, and that'll be this one. So those are card E. Card F, I'm just going to cut this down to 5 1/4 inches. Actually, I'm going to do it this way. The reason being, then I can decide, do I want to cut the 3/4 inch off this side or off this side? If it doesn't matter to you, just go right ahead and do whatever you like. I went ahead and cut it from this end. And once you see the card layout, you'll understand what I mean about deciding which end to cut it from, okay? And then the last piece, the last 6 inch by 4 inch piece, I'm going to also cut in half at 3 inches, flip them both over, and I believe it's this one I used for the last card, but let me double check. It's this. Oops, maybe I mixed up the two. Let's see. Yep, this is what I'm doing. So that, and then, is that right? Whatever, yes. Doesn't really matter. It's just kind of which picture you want to use, okay? And again, you don't have to flip these pieces over if you don't want to, but for this one sheet wonder, I designed it so that we would be using both sides of the DSP. So let's go ahead and make the first card. And for this one, I want to pull those 2 4 inch by 3 inch pieces cut from my one sheet wonder. I've already prepared my card base. 5 1/2 by 8 1/2 inches, cut it 4 1/4 down the middle, folded in half, white cardstock on the inside. The next thing I'm going to do is take the bunny side and adhere that to a piece of old olive cardstock. Now the DSP is cut 4 inches by 3 inches, so my old olive cardstock is 4 1/8 inch by 3 1/8. And then I'm going to adhere all these rectangles to my card front. So I'm starting with the strawberry piece and putting that in the lower left corner, and then I'll add the layers to the upper right corner. And notice I'm just using a very small margin. I could go bigger, but then I'm covering up more of the DSP, and I want to see as much of that adorable DSP as I possibly can. Okay, normally for my one sheet wonders, you know that I have my sentiments cut, stamped and punched, die cut, whatever, ahead of time. I purposely did not do that for this demonstration because I want to show you some different ways to use a couple of your punches. So I've got my labeled with love punch and tab punch. I'll be using these two for all 7 cards, but using them in different ways that you might not be really aware of. And because the Storybook Friends set, this is where I'm getting all my sentiments, and it does have a die set to cut those characters out. I've got a 2 inch strip of cardstock, piece of scrap, and I'm going to stamp Welcome Little One in Cherry Cobbler ink. And I'm just going to stamp it just kind of evenly left to right, but a little bit up from the bottom. Then I'm going to take this Labeled with Love punch. You know that most of our punches we work from the back side so that we can see where we're putting the sentiment. And instead of punching out the entire shape, I'm doing this just to change it up a little bit, give me a different way to use that punch, make this punch a little bit more versatile. I just want to make sure it's straight, the sentiment is straight, and it's pretty evenly spaced between the left and right sides. So now I just have a little bit different shape from that Labeled with Love punch. And I'm going to adhere this to my card front with a couple of dimensionals. And then just like that, card A is finished. Next, I am working with a 2" by 6" strip of the DSP cut from the One Sheet Wonder. And I'm going to cut this down to 5½ inches. And then I have a small 1/2 inch strip left. And both of these strips of DSP, I will be I'll be mounting on Cherry Cobbler ink. Cherry Cobbler cardstock. Ink, cardstock, paper, whatever. So the Cherry Cobbler cardstock here measures 2¼ inches by 5½ inches. And I'm going to put that on my boho blue card base, which I've already prepared. Same A2 size. And same thing with my small strip. You might want to use your multi-purpose glue to adhere this narrow piece. You just need a little bit. Always remember that. Oh, that's a little bit long, isn't it? It should be 2 inches. It looks like I cut it same width. So I'll just cut this down. And I'll be adhering it like that, but I'm not ready to adhere it just yet because, again, I'm going to stamp and punch. And this time I'm going to stamp Happy Spring. Here it is, Happy Spring. I'm using just one ink color throughout the whole demonstration, all of the cards, and that is Cherry Cobbler. Okay. Now, I'm using my tab punch, fitting that in, but notice I have it all the way to the right side. Normally, let me show you this. Normally with the tab punch, you might be making a card organizer or maybe organizing paperwork, whatever. And you would punch it like this, stamp something, fold it over, and there's your tab. Okay? I'm using it in a different way today. So again, I'm putting that sentiment to the right. And then I'm going to take my paper snips and I'm going to cut across here, put it against the brown so you can see, cut across here to make that rectangle. okay? Or I could have cut it just right down the middle as well, but I'll be using that later. So now I just want to adhere that in the tiniest way, okay? So this is what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna put the tiniest bit of glue at the bottom of the sentiment, and then I'm going to lay this piece on top. I want to center it side to side, left and right. And I want to make sure that it's straight across, that all these horizontal lines are, what's the word? Not perpendicular, parallel. And this is a good time to use your silicone craft sheet so you're not getting adhesive everywhere. And then I'm just going to add a little bit of my glue and adhere this to my card front. Okay. And then what did I do with? I'm going to use one of my die cuts. And by the way, if you can pull the die cuts, and these are at the back of the pack, pull them out on the cardboard that comes with your pack, because once you start picking them up and moving the sheet around, the pieces actually pop out really easily. So this is just an easy way for me to look at all of them and decide what I want to use. And then just punch out that piece. So I'm going to use this duck. Always good for spring. And just give it a couple of dimensionals. So I'm thinking of these die cuts as an embellishment on my cards, but you could also create scenes with them. Okay, can you see that? All the different scenes that you might create with these. But I'm kind of using these as an embellishment to my cards. So there is card B. And I wanted to put it with card A, but now I don't see where I put card A. Oh, here it is. It's upside down. Okay, we are moving on to card C. I've got the 6" by 2" strip cut from the One Sheet Wonder. Again, I'm going to cut off a 1/2 inch of that. So putting the left side at 5½ inches and then cutting off the 1/2 inch. And it doesn't really matter what side you cut it from, the left or the right, either will be okay. Get my pieces here. And before I cut this, yep, that one too, I cut a little bit too long. This piece should measure 3/4 inch by 2 inches. And just like the other card, I'm going to adhere the DSP strips to the Cherry Cobbler cardstock. I'm going to adhere these large layers to my card front, but I don't want to put adhesive right here because I'm going to be tucking my sentiment in there. So just a little bit above the bottom of the card front. I'm going to use 2 more of my die cuts for this card. So I'm going to get those ready. I'm going to get all these pieces ready to go and then adhere them all at once. So I'm just going to place them approximately where I want them. Okay. But before I adhere them, I want to stamp and punch my sentiment so I know exactly where I want the other pieces. So again, I am stamping with Cherry Cobbler, and I am not seeing, oh, here it is, Welcome Little One. We used this once, but we're using it again, Welcome Little One. And I will punch this with the Labeled with Love punch. Again, using it a different way than we typically do, and different than the first card even. So when I punch this, I want it near the top of the punch shape. Can you see that? Still trying to center it left to right and still want to make sure that it's straight across. Everything's parallel. And then I'm ready to punch. So most often we stamp and then we punch with it in the center, right? The reason I did this is I'm going to just slip this right under those two layers. And I put some adhesive at the top of the back label because that allows me, and then putting it at the bottom because that allows me to be able to move this around and get it in place exactly where I want it. Scooch over just a bit. Make sure it's straight. Okay. And now I'm ready to add my other pieces to this card front. Not sure why I just flipped that around, but I did. Okay, and I didn't put that on exactly straight, did I? Did you catch that? Okay. And I'm just going to put it right over there. And then I'm going to add Mother Duck and her baby. There's a pond across the street from my house, and Riley likes to come over every time we go out for a walk. She says, "Duck, duck, duck," and it's been a while since the ducks have been around. But I've got a yellow stuffed toy duck that she plays with in the house. Okay, so that is card C. And moving on to card D. I've got my boho blue card base prepared. I've cut my Cherry Cobbler 4 1/8 inch by 5 3/8 inch. So I have just a small border of the blue shelling. Now I'm going to adhere these two pieces of 3 by 4 inch DSP from my One Sheet Wonder. And by the way, if you're using two pieces and basically same pattern on each side, but you want different ones to show up, flip them over at the same time. That's kind of my way of trying not to get them mixed up and putting the adhesive on the wrong side. So both of them, I'm going to adhere at an angle, opposite angles. And then I'm going to stamp Hello Friend, which I thought was cute because it looks like these two bunnies are having a conversation. I know, I guess I'm like playing in Storybook land here. And I'm going to stamp this in the other part of that tab punch or cardstock that we punched with the tab punch. And again, I'm just going to cut this straight across for a rectangle, or pretty straight across. There we go. And I will adhere this with dimensionals. Yeah, I'm going to put this right here. And wait till you see what I do for an embellishment. Now, I worked down here pretty much all day yesterday from about 10 a.m. till 8 p.m. Had a little training thing in there as well. Had a Zoom with a demonstrator friend. But anyways, I was down here till about 8 o'clock last night. But as I finished these things up earlier in the day, I thought, this sweet little bunny needs a bow. Well, she's awfully small, isn't she? So I needed a very teeny tiny bow. And I thought, teeny tiny bows, I'm not so sure I want to do that. But then I couldn't let it rest. So I came back to it and gave her a teeny tiny little bow. Now the trick here to making a teeny tiny little bow is give yourself enough to work with. Sometimes people think, well, that bow's so tiny, I only need a small piece. It's not going to be easy doing it that way. Oh, I want to cut these a little shorter. Notice how I left it on the spool and gave myself plenty on the end I pulled off. That's often a mistake people make when they want to tie bows. They don't cut off enough of the ribbon or the trim. And then it's very frustrating because they don't have enough of the loops and tails to pull and tighten, things like that. And then I just put a clear block over that. I just put one dot of glue and laid the bow on top. And then I just use that clear block to hold that bow in place until it's dry in a few seconds. Okay, so that was card D. We've made 4 of the 7 cards now. And oops, there it is. And you'll see while all 7 of the cards are different, there are some that have some true similarities, where we're using 2 pieces of DSP, one's flipped over, sometimes it's mounted on a coordinating color of cardstock, which is what I'm doing here. So my old olive cardstock here is 3 1/8 by 4 1/8 inches. And the strawberry piece I'm going to put all the way up in the upper right corner with just a small bit of cherry cobbler border. And the layers in the opposite corner. And then I have this. Now, you can probably tell what I did here, okay? So I stamped, let me just show you, beginning to end. Let's see, somebody loves you. And I can use this another time on something. Stamped my sentiment. And a lot of times we'd stamp this way, right? We'd stamp lower and then punch it. But again, I wanted it at the top, and I'm kind of using that little curvy bottom as an element of my sentiment or my card. So I did that. And then I just took my snips and quickly just trimmed around right there. Easy peasy, right? And then this one kind of has a flat top because I trimmed that curve. But this I could just cut straight across if I wanted, make it into a rectangle like those other pieces. Okay. Let me set those aside. This I'm going to adhere with dimensionals. And I'm going to adhere it up here, also at an angle, but up in that corner. And I'm going to tie a little bow for this as well. And the bow I'm going to adhere to that bottom curvy part of the tab. Again, I'll just use a dot of glue. I like the offset pieces as well, Cheryl. Just kind of changes things up a bit. And again, I'm just going to, actually the first one's probably dry, just place a clear stamping block over that to let the glue set. And we will move on to card F. And I'll show you another trick for using the Labeled with Love punch. This is a horizontal card. And remember, this is that 6x4 piece. I guess I was this way. And I cut off one end. So I'll adhere the 5 1/4 by 4 inch piece of DSP to the card front. Just trying to get equal margins of the Old Olive cardstock all the way around. And then I'm going to adhere this with the strawberry side up. And this is 3 1/4 by 4 inches. Again, cut from the main piece. Just like that. Notice I didn't get too close to the end. I left probably, maybe it's about 1/2 inch from the right side. And now I want to stamp "Thank you so much." And I'm going to punch it with the Labeled with Love punch, or I plan to, and then I thought, well, that's not very much. It's not taking up very much. There's going to be a lot of empty space when I punch it that way, so I'm punching it a different way. Again, having different ways of using your punches means that we're going to be using those punches more often, which means we're getting more value for our purchase, more bang for our buck, however you want to say it. But I'm all about versatility, finding different ways to use products than maybe they were originally intended to be used. So now I have this, and I do want to adhere it up here. And you can decide how much or how little you want to cut off, or if you want the whole thing. If you want the whole thing, I would have punched it so the sentiment was in the center. But I didn't want to do that. I wanted to be different this time. So I'm just going to cut off some of that top. Didn't even measure it. I just kind of eyeballed it where I thought I wanted it. And I will pop this up. And then this sentiment, I too will finish up with a bow made from the linen thread. Now, I chose to use linen thread, but there is a ribbon and embellishment that coordinates with this DSP, part of that suite. This bow I'm going to make just a little bit larger and have a little bit longer tails, I call them, ends on the bow. So now I think you've actually seen me make 3 different size bows today. Again, it's just all about giving yourself enough of the ribbon or linen thread, baker's twine, whatever you're using, giving yourself enough to work with so that you can manipulate those loops and tails till you get the size you want and can pull it tug. All right, let's move this. And we'll go right on to our last card, which is very similar to the other cards made with the 3" by 4" DSP. This is going to be a vertical card. Again, the bunny side up on one of them. And I'm mounting that 3" by 4" DSP onto Old Olive that measures 3 1/8 by 4 1/8. I'm going to adhere the strawberry DSP first, and then the bunnies. And then, let's see, where is it? Okay, so once again, I'm going to use my tab punch, and this time I'm going to stamp Easter greetings. And this time I want to stamp it so that the greeting is in that left part of the tab punch. Now you could fold it over and it would look like this, but it has that little straight edge. Not a big deal, right? But I decided I would, so if you can fold it over, you can cut it right down the center, or you can just cut that little curve. Easy peasy. And I'm going to adhere this right about here, and then also finish this off with a bow, but this one is a double bow. So I'm just doubling the strand and tying a bow like that. Okay, I didn't even realize till, I had all this prepared yesterday, all the samples made, etc. I didn't even realize until going through the Facebook Live today that I'm showing you 4 different bows, different sizes and a double. That was accidental, which I'm so glad it was. Because then I'm showing you more things. And this too, I'm going to adhere with a drop of the multi-purpose glue, the tip top. Use this. So how many of you have either or both of these punches? The Labeled with Love punch. Actually, I should leave it this way because then you're not getting the glare, but you can still see the shape. The Labeled with Love punch or the tab punch. Do you have these? And if you do you feel like now you have some more ideas of ways you can use them? Or if you don't have them, do you feel like knowing that there are alternate ways to use your punches, that you might be more interested in adding those to your collection of Stampin' Up! Products? I do want to mention that Stampin' Up! Did something which is very unusual for them. For these two punches, they also have dies for each one. I'm not sure why they decided to do that, but you get the choice. With these two shapes, you get the choice. Do you want a punch? Or, and I think this one actually has 3 dies with that shape of the same size too. Or you could have the punch of the tab or the die of the tab. So that's kind of neat for people who have particular preferences, I'll say. Doris, good. I'm glad I gave you some more opportunities of ways to punch your sentiments. Okay, I'm going to close this up before I have an accident and knock a card into it. All right, so card G, card F, we're going backwards here. I wanted you to notice on this one, notice how it's all the same elements. We simply changed the placement of our rectangles, and the tab was used in opposite ways. We've got the curve on the bottom, curve on the top. Simple little changes that make a completely different card. All right, and then we had this one with our little she bunny and her teeny tiny little bow. I'm very proud of my teeny tiny little bow. I don't know if I've ever made a bow that small, but I think she's just darling. I think she's just darling. Welcome little one. Oops, went this way. Welcome little one with the ducks. I should change out the sentiment and send that to Riley. She would love the little ducks. Oh, she could have this one. Hello, spring. And I love this one as well for a baby card. This one would be a great one for Riley too. And I don't know if you noticed this. I had my card, my sample put together before I even noticed I had used this sentiment. But look, Mama Bunny, or I guess it could be Grandma Bunny, right? Could be Grandma Mary Bunny. And little Riley in the wheelbarrow. So I'll probably send her this one. I'll probably send it now. I'm not going to wait for spring. All right, so what do you think? I hope that, Lori, I'm happy to be back. Somebody asked me yesterday how my back is doing, and I'm actually doing quite well. I know I did overdo it a little bit last week, so I kind of had to take Saturday to slow down a bit. And I kind of felt that way yesterday too. Like I overdid it a little bit. So going at a little bit slower pace today, but it does feel good to be back. I'd say I'm about 80% back. And it's really lifted my spirits to be able to come down here and design and create and connect with all of you. It's a good thing. I'm happy. It's a good thing. Okay, so you feel pretty confident about being able to make 7 different cards with this one sheet wonder. You hopefully picked up some tips for using the labeled with love and tab punch in different ways for your sentiments, and even seeing how you can create wonderful cards with just this pack of designer series paper. All the other things are great. The 2 bundles, the ribbon, the embellishments, those are all great. The other pack of DSP is wonderful with all the plaids. But you can create a whole bunch of great cards just with this Storybook Moments Designer Series paper pack. Okay. Seems like I wanted to tell you something else. Oh, celebration continues through February 28th, through the end of the month. You can choose from a free product with each $60 purchase, or if you are making a $120 purchase, you can pick two items at the $60 level, or you can choose one of the two free items at the $120 level. So it's always fun to get some freebie. If we're spending the money only, anyways, it's nice to get a little something extra, isn't it? And in the very near future, I will be making a video to show people exactly how to cut, but it's gonna be the same cuts we made for this one sheet wonder, but I'm using each of the pieces for a separate card. So that will make 11 cards. 11 quick and easy cards, I should say. And I'm also using die cuts for those. So that will be coming soon. So you'll get more ideas for the Storybook Moments DSP. Thank you all for joining me. Thank you for your wonderful comments, your well wishes. I'm happy to be back with you. And I will see you again next week, Tuesday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on Stampin' Piece with Mary Knabe on Facebook. Take care.